All right, so do we have roll call? I'll take, I mean, you just, whoever's taking the minutes can, make sure we have a roll call. So let's get started with, item 3, approval of the agenda. Any additions or corrections? Otherwise, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
A motion, and I will second. Any further discussion? Otherwise, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Item B, approval of the minutes from the April 23rd, 20 meeting.
I'll make a motion to
Is there a
approve.
motion to approve? There's a motion, is there a second? I'll second.
Heck yeah, Bill. Way to go.
You and I are running the show here today, Steve. All right, any additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to regular legislation, with possible action on approval of GBHA operating budget and budget resolution number 20-3 for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020.
Well, that's accounting and that,
There
yep.
you go.
I
Go
did,
ahead, floor is yours.
I did send this out in advance per Cheryl's request so that you guys should have all had plenty of time to review it. I did get a couple of questions back from Terry. I emailed her back. She just simple questions on like, well, what was here and there. I didn't get any emails or questions. Anybody have any?
Oh, none from my end.
Okay. And then I did email Bill. I emailed Karen the original resolution so that you'll be able to sign that. And then if you can just scan it and send it back to me, that would be great.
We'll do that so as soon as the meeting's over.
I'm at my mask on because I'm at the office, so I have to have my mask on. Sorry, it's Sandy.
Welcome, Sandy.
Sandy, we were just about to make a motion to approve the budget. Did you have any questions for Stephanie before we do so?
You're muted, Sandy. There you go.
Nope, not at all. Thanks.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right.
I second.
So a motion and a second to approve the budget for 2020, the beginning of July 1, 2020. All in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Bye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good, motion carries. And then I'll draft the meeting schedule.
Okay.
All right, moving on to item number 2 under regular business, consideration of possible action on passbook savings rate.
All right. That is me also. So what is for the tenants at Mason Manor and scattered sites, if they have savings accounts that don't have an interest rate, the federal government requires us to it, and we can go 0.75% above or below the federal rate. The federal rate that I put in there, I believe, was at like 0.007. So we are just going to go with zero.
You don't want to be making money on this, Stephanie? That seems correct.
Okay, so it would apply to like a handful of tenants, and that would be it. And we'd be talking about a handful of pennies. So I'm okay with keeping it at zero.
All right. Any further questions? Otherwise, I'll make a motion to approve it and keep it at zero.
Would
I'll second.
that. Oh, yeah.
A motion and a second. Again, any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving on to item number 3 under regular business, consideration with possible action on creation of a separate entity as required for Section 18 application. Carol, I'll turn this back to you.
So you may recall that part of our Section 18 application, we're required to form a separate entity in order to manage our scattered site projects. Part of what we wanted Baker Tilly to work with us on was trying to determine the best entity to form for the Section 18 application. We actually have Don and Caitlin here from Baker Tilly that can talk to us about what their recommendation is for what we should form. So if I could get someone to make a motion to open the floor, that would be great. We can let them speak.
So move.
I'll second. This is Sandy.
Have a motion and a second to open the floor to discussion or questions. Hearing none, all in favor of all signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So I'll turn it over to you, Don.
Perfect. Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, board members and staff. Yeah, regarding the Section 18, and we talked internally, I did talk with one kind of external attorney just for their opinion as well. And what we've seen in similar situations, so is it really the most simple method would be to create what's called a new limited liability company, or LLC, where the housing authority itself can be the 100% owner of this LLC. So it's called a single member because the housing authority, the 100% owner of the LLC. And so then all from an accounting perspective, all the operations flow up to the housing authority and so forth. So it's creating obviously a single member LLC is not, it's pretty simple. Just one thing we just wanted to throw out there and then Cheryl, I had this in the email as a side note. Some housing authorities, depending if they see real estate development as, hey, we've got, maybe our two assets here, but hey, maybe we want a third and a fourth. Maybe we see it as kind of a new, system in line of operation and so forth. We've seen some housing authorities create kind of a new nonprofit entity, a new 501c3 entity that really almost becomes this holding company or almost developer entity. There's no restrictions on obviously there's still a nonprofit, but there's no, the cash, there's no restrictions. It's not, there's no intertwining of public housing dollars and cash and so forth. And you could have this holds, scattered sites, maybe holds, your interest in Mason Manor eventually. And then if you have a third property and a fourth property eventually. So in the short term, and you still could do that, maybe creating the single member LLC. Again, it's a really quick process, and I know you need to move forward with the Section 18, need that for Section 18. But we can maybe continue to think about, again, depending where the housing authority's vision is. We want to on that or thoughts on that.
I can tell you that part of my vision as the executive director is that when we pull our 48 units of scattered site out of public housing, right, and they go onto the voucher system, that leaves us with 48 units of public housing, then we can create someplace else. So for example, if we wanted to build 48 units of public housing, so let me back up. So the city of Green Bay under the Faircloth Act is entitled to, I think, is it 204? Jamie, what's my number?
Yes, 204 is what our fair club is.
200, so the city of Green Bay can have 204 public housing units in the city of Green Bay. We're taking 48 of them out of that allocation and putting them under Section 18. So we have 48 units then that we can build another 48 units of public housing somewhere in the city. So I would see if we have the opportunity to do that in the future, that would be good because that would be 48 more affordable housing units in Green Bay. So now that's not going to happen tomorrow because we need to, we need to work through the Section 18. We have to remodel Mason Manor, but I could see that in the future, the city going down that route, the housing authority.
That was the question that I had from very early on, is whether it was going to be an LLC or an LLC.
And again, that's very unique.
So there's a difference. This is Sandy. There's a difference between an LLC and an LL what?
LLC, the limited liability partnership.
Oh, partnership. Okay. All right.
So that was the question I had initially was, generally I've seen that LLPs tend to be more real estate oriented than LLPs, but not necessarily. And then the second question I had is, regardless of which entity you pick, should it be for-profit or non-profit? And so those are sort of the goals that we have to have. And I didn't know benefits there were for going either direction with either entity. Glad, John, that you're weighing in on that, because I think that's something that we need to address here early on and figure out which one works for it. Because I think my understanding of how they're organized, when they're organized, you have to make some decisions as to whether it's going to be for-profit or non-profit right at the beginning. And so I think that those are issues we have to walk through here as we set this up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And in these situations, with one of my tax partners too, but we've typically been using LLCs for these transactions, and we do, for a couple purposes, the nonprofit. I honestly forget if you've got you pay some kind of pilot, for real estate taxes, or you 100% free or some kind of pilot. I mean,
We
probably
pay pilot.
Pilot, yeah. Probably keeping the nonprofit, for that. But then, eventually, if you do want to pursue other sources of funds to help renovate somewhere down the road. I mean, many times, access to these funds, there's benefits if you're, kind of have the nonprofit status and so forth. So, and again, I think, Cheryl, you said really you have to have this decided pretty quickly for Section 18 purposes. So I think, getting this LLC probably makes set up, and then as you said, you might have this we'll do something with Mason Manor, and then these 48 units of Faircloth, and we can then continue having the discussion to create maybe then this new separate kind of parent nonprofit 501c3 that really can then development activity.
I don't want to be in the.
And then we could transfer. It's not a problem to transfer then this. Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
I don't want to be an obstructionist in progress here, and I don't see a ton of at least establishing a separate entity at first, but I wouldn't mind a little pursuing our own legal advice on risk management for this particular situation before we head into an agreement. Don, I appreciate you guys mentioning you reached out to a third-party legal advice
Sure.
and for Baker Tilly's purposes. I think that's fantastic. But I mean, and I don't know what that looks like, Bill or Cheryl, on the formality of us hiring somebody or using the city's council. I don't know, but I don't have what risk we are or are not taking by this, and I'd like an actual recommendation or at least some advice on that before we head into some hefty business transactions as a separately set up LLC or LLP, as it were.
We would need to hire our counsel. Just to clarify that, we would have to hire our own counsel to make that decision. It wouldn't work through our law department through the city. So, Bill, I always turn to the chair with these questions.
Yeah, he's a lawyer too. I mean, that's fine.
Your question about risk management, is that related to what the individual members of the board would have for liability in this?
Well, or the entity of the city of Green Bay, for that matter, Bill. I don't understand. I don't know. So yeah, personally, or us as a group, or the city as a partnership in this. Who are we exposing to what?
And it's a very relevant question. I've raised, you may all know or recall, I'm legal counsel for the city's water utility. And with all the lead issues that have been going on, some of the commissioners have had questions about their potential personal liability for serving on the board or on the commission, just like us. And I've reached out to the city attorney's office for an answer to that, and I've gotten mixed results. So it's, you know, we're pushing boundaries here by moving from a board like we are here to a separate independent board for this LLC or LLP. What's the exposure that we as board members have for serving on that board? So I think that's a relevant, significant question for all of us. So I think that's another issue that's been on the table here that we have to explore. And I think the first question is, you know, backing this up, which way are we going, LLP, LLC, and profit or nonprofit? Some of those answers will then dictate the response that we may get for the risk management issue that we decide. So I think I would share in the concern and the thought that we ought to hire outside counsel to give us an opinion on that. With what's the exposure of the city on this? What's the exposure of the housing authority on this? What's the exposure of the individual board members who serve on both the housing authority and this LLC? Because there's a secondary, maybe a third level of this. What's the conflict of interest between the two? Is there a conflict of interest for serving on those two different entities with the same board? I don't think it's a problem, but that's just my educated or non-educated. But an outside counsel's opinion on that as well. And then the next issue that follows that is that we would need an opinion on, and maybe this would come from the city attorney's office, but what's the open records, open meeting law component to the operation of that LLC or LLP? What do we have to comply with in order to meet them? I think I know the answer, but that's not my job to give the opinion on that one. So
Yeah, Bill,
those are all things that I think we need outside opinion on as we move down that road. So, good point.
Well, and to your second part of that on open record or not open record or the conflict of interest, I mean, I think heading down this path, there's lots of details to ask about, right? I mean, I think, you know, that's cause and heightened agenda items as we get deeper into the weeds. But I mean, this feels really positive. Cheryl, I know you're excited about it. We're all excited about it. I just don't want to make any assumptions on who we're exposing to what here without somebody that understands it better than my simple little brain.
And that's fine. I just would like some direction from the board then to go forward with obtaining legal counsel to do that.
You need a motion for
Just
that,
so we don't wait
Sheila?
another month to, like, let me get on it. Probably a motion, right, to seek third-party counsel on this?
I will make that motion. This is Sandy.
I'll second
I'll
that.
second.
Oh, yeah, or whomever.
So we have a motion and a second to seek outside counsel for an opinion regarding the fee for the Section 18 application. Any further discussion or questions?
Yeah, I have a follow up to that. Is there prep work that can be done so that we don't slow down the actual agenda item any more than we have to? Can we get all but ready in preparation of getting this opinion legally? You know,
This is the last thing to go.
Oh,
We're, like,
okay.
the app's all done, ready to go. This is the last thing we need, is that establishment. So
okay.
we're at that point, so we're cool. And I think what will happen before you take the vote, I think what will happen is we'll need to have, Bill, me, Jamie, sit down with that attorney, right, and go through all these questions that the board has so they can prepare an opinion for us. Hopefully for the next board meeting would be great, but I don't know how fast. Can attorneys work that fast, Bill?
It depends. In terms of organizing and establishing the LLC or the LLP, I could have done it while we're talking here now. You can do it online.
Right.
And file
Right.
everything almost instantaneously. So the real nuts and bolts of it are in, let me back up. To establish an LLC or an LLP or a corporation, whatever, nonprofit or for-profit, you do it through the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions. There's an application, blank type of application. It's a little bit more complicated if it's going to be nonprofit, but not that much. The real nuts and bolts of it are, so that application is the public document that you can see online. The real nuts and bolts of it are essentially creating the bylaws. And again, those bylaws are going to be different whether it's for-profit or non-profit. That's a little bit more complicated, but it's again more of a boilerplate type of document for these types of things. So that's going to take a little bit more discussion by our board to fill that in and provide whoever's filling this stuff out the information that we want in that document. So getting it set up or getting it organized and registered is pretty simple, but filling in the blanks for that gets a lot more complicated and time consuming because there are big global decisions that have to be made as to how you want it set up. So yeah, we can do it pretty quickly, but there's going to be probably at least another board meeting, maybe two, filling those blanks of how the organization is established, because that will give direction to us as a board, will give direction to Baker Tilly as to how to help us navigate through all that and get it properly registered. And then once that's done, then if it's nonprofit, then you have to apply to the IRS for recognition as a 501c3, which is really complicated. So those are all steps that are down the line here, but close. We're close to being able to do that. So again, we have a motion here and a second. Any other questions about where this goes?
I hate to get nitpicky. We have the floor is still officially open. Can we have a motion and a vote on it when the floor is open?
So I'll make that motion with a thank you to Don for giving us and getting us started on this journey.
Oh, very, very good.
I will second the motion to close the floor.
Is there a second to that motion to close the floor?
I will second it.
You will? Okay.
All right, any further questions for our folks from Baker Tilly? Otherwise, we have a motion and a second to close the floor. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. So now we have a motion on the floor for hiring legal counsel to assist us in moving forward with the organization of an entity to serve as part of the application for the Section 18 application. Any further discussion on this? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Cheryl, on that, I would guess probably the best thing to do is check with Vanessa and have her give us a recommendation as to who we should look to for that.
We could obviously, I know you've got very qualified attorneys. We could give you a name as well who we worked with on some other similar housing authorities in Wisconsin.
So just shoot that to Cheryl, and Cheryl can pass that on to Vanessa. Because
Perfect.
I think that might have to go to the law department of the city for final recommendation before we do.
Okay.
Cheryl, I also have a contact from one of my conferences for someone who's represented housing authorities on the legal matters for grad and stuff.
Sounds good. Send it to me.
Yep.
All right, anything further on this Section 18 application entity issue? All right, hearing none, then we'll move on to the informational item. First we've got the GBHA bill. Anything on that stuff? Anything new?
Nothing new that was sent out in the packet, unless somebody has questions for me.
Any questions on the bill? Hearing none. I don't think we need a motion on it. Move on to the financial report, item number 2.
All right, that was also in your packet.
Can I sneak in some commentary here? Don and Caitlin, this is a public meeting and you are welcome to enjoy the informational bit of this agenda, but it would not be rude if you excused yourself. That's totally
We're correct.
I was just going to say.
Thank you very much. We'll be in touch, Cheryl, with the names. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Don.
I was just going to say that, but you can bow out if you'd like.
All right, so the financial statement and the CFP summary information is in the packet for you guys. The only thing I have on that is with the CFP summary that you received. If you'll notice, there is a 2020 allocation of $325,000. So you found out what we got for this year.
So that's what we actually got?
Well, we'll have to spend it down, but that's what was granted to us. Yep. It was $325,000. In speaking with HUD though, once our application for the Section 18 goes to the SAC office, we can't spend CFP funds anymore. So we are going to most likely just take our 2020 money and look at our projects and put the money towards that.
Okay. Okay. So when you say, Stephanie, this is Sandy, when you say that we can't spend CFP money anymore, are we going to continue to receive it, but just can't spend it? How?
Yes, we would receive it. Part of the presentation that HUD had given us is that we can continue to receive the money we would have received for scattered sites. I believe it was 3 years after they come out, we can continue to receive that money. It would just have to go into, if we had another AMP, which would be Mason Manor. So we continue to use that money on our Mason Manor side. And then once the 3 years is done, we just wouldn't get the allowance that they had given us for scattered sites. So our amount that we would get down would be less, but hopefully by then there'll be enough other people out that the amount of money that gets split will be greater, so we can still continue to fix things.
Okay, then let me ask another question quick, and I'm apologizing if I'm just, my memory's not there. So we're looking at this LLC or LLP only for the scattered sites right now?
Yes.
Okay, all righty.
Potentially.
Correct, correct.
The attorney
yes.
may say to us, you know, we know you're going to do this, but we know you're going to do this too. So why don't you just form this?
Well,
Might be whatever that entity is.
Yeah, I don't remember us separating that. That's why I was confused with just starting with the scattered sites. So, and that's fine if that allows us to get that money in and be able to spend it accordingly. But then my next question would be, we did this and all the properties were there under this LLC. Do we ever get funding or assistance like that again to assist us with the maintenance of our building?
Can we go over that a little bit? Because I was under the impression that we separated those things after talking to somebody from HUD, right? Isn't that when we decided to pursue just scattered sites and not Mason Manor included?
Yes, and for now, when you're looking at this budget, we don't
Gotcha.
have Section 18 in the mix right here, right? This is our standard budget that we're looking at, and our numbers. So that will change when we pull them out, when they're officially pulled out of public housing, which probably won't happen, till later this year at this point. So
You mean for scattered
I
sites?
don't know if I answered your question, Sandy.
Well, so,
I can answer-
and I guess with Steve, what you're saying is true. I remember going through all of this with the officials from HUD, and I thought it would be a very good idea. So we are right now only looking at putting in scattered sites, and it could be years, or Cheryl, or what you saying, they may say just wait and do it all at once.
No.
Okay.
We're on board for the Section 18 movement of scattered sites to do that
Okay.
as soon as we decide as a board what the best entity is to do that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And, I don't know what the attorney will say, but there might be different options on how to do that. So,
And Sandy, on the future funding for scattered sites,
Right.
we don't receive operating subsidy anymore or CFP anymore for that, but our rents are higher and we receive a subsidy from the Section 8 program, which pays for part of the rents at a higher rate than what we can charge right now. So that's how we'll have more money than what we can get right now with our operating grants being, and our CFP being lower than what we actually need to run our programs. We can get our rents higher out of public housing to get what we need to actually run our programs then.
So that would have been
clarifying rents are not higher for tenants.
right. Correct. That I do remember, that wasn't going to be an impact on the tenants.
Right.
So, and I'm sorry if this was last fall that all of this happened. And so with all this COVID stuff, I've had to lose stuff out of my brain just to collect all the new stuff. So, so I apologize for not remembering everything. So, and thank you for your patience and explaining again. So.
Sandy, that was perfect. I do space planning for a living, and I'm way over capacity myself. So.
All right, any further questions on the financial report?
Nope.
All right, very good, thank you. Let's move on then to the Langen report. Any questions regarding the Langen report?
So there is not a report in your packet. Langen took the month off because of COVID, so there really isn't any investigations to bring speed, but they are starting back in the office, so hopefully next month we'll get going again with them.
Good. All right, director's report. Carol.
All right, so you all received my email about, we had a positive case of COVID at Mason Manor. Luckily, I have to give the mayor kudos for this. He worked with the county and we were able to test over 100 residents at Mason Manor for COVID.
Wow.
Very quickly. And before I go any further, kudos to Jamie Valentine, who coordinated all of this effort. And there was a lot of work and a lot of drops. And so Jamie and her team out there really did a great job, stellar job on this. And I don't have the numbers now, Jamie. As far as positive cases go out of, how many do we have reported back?
So from the Prevea testing that we had, roughly 100 tenants, we only have one that was positive.
Oh.
Which is outstanding. We're very happy for that. They did a great job contacting the tenants that were positive. I think, Jamie, we had a total of 3 or 4 maybe?
We had 3 total.
3 total. They did a good job talking to them and then whoever they were in contact with, isolation. So that's been very good. I'm very, very thankful for that because that could have gone bad very quickly for us at Mason Manor. But as a result of that, I've authorized some cleaning to get done at Mason Manor. There are companies that will come in, a company that we hired for the city that will come in and just do the hallways, the laundries, all the common spaces, and at least do it all one time to get that done. The cost for that, to do the entire building, all common spaces, is $8,000. which I think is very, very reasonable. We actually thought it was going to be more like 30,000. So, so they're going to come in at least and do that deep cleaning on everything. So we know we've got, you know, it changes day to day, of course, but we know that we've covered the entire building for now anyway. So that's, I guess that's the COVID update. We continue to be in, you know, touch with our tenants. We've provided masks. We tell them if they have any symptoms, they should get tested or call their doctors and, you know, try to stay away from other tenants. So we've removed furniture from the common areas to try to not encourage folks to still gather yet, because we're still in kind of a critical time right now. But I
Can I ask a question?
Yep, go ahead, Mary.
One of the things I was wondering is, you know, most of the testing sites, you have to be in a vehicle to be tested. Is that correct?
That is not correct.
Oh, no? Okay.
Casa Alba was a walk-up site. I think Resch was as well, but.
Oh, all right. Okay. Because I was wondering, you know, the other part of that is if somebody is thinking they may have it, you know, they aren't really supposed to go on the bus. Well, they can't get a friend in the building to drive them. What are their options after that?
Well, the buses actually, you can take a bus. The
But if you
buses are
think
still
you
running.
might
I
be
think they've
positive for
only- I think they're up to
COVID,
maybe
you aren't
7
really
residents.
supposed. But if you think that you maybe have COVID symptoms, they don't want you to take the bus then.
Right, I would think that's true. I guess I'm not sure, Mary.
So then how would someone get to the testing site then?
I'm not sure if they would call, if there's like a car service or a taxi, or if they have a friend. I don't know if they've called the front office. Jamie, have you had anyone with that issue of transportation?
I think everybody that had transportation issues came down to our site here.
Right. That was one of the reasons that we wanted to have testing on site, because we knew a lot of our residents didn't have the means to get to the sites. So.
Mary, this is Sandy. I don't know if you're in contact, Cheryl, with public health, but that would have been my first call. You know, think I've got it. How do I get tested if I can't get out? You know, and see what public health has to say. Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a good thing to actually post for the building, because
Cheryl,
people.
the person board, the first case that we did have positive, it was an disabled tenant that had transportation issues, and a nurse from her physician's office did come on site and test her.
Oh, okay.
So
I think it's important they call their doctor. At this point, I think their first call should be to their physician, because I think there are means through the doctor's offices, depending where they go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if that could be, you know, stressed and somehow or something, because just in talking with people, that was one of the things that came up.
You're talking with people, Mary? No, I'm kidding.
Well, we're, you know, like outside and we're a distance away, but, you know.
So that's my COVID update. I mean, I think back to the old days when all we had to worry about was bed bugs.
Don't say that word either.
Right. Which, by the way, we're doing very, very good with that. I mean, I don't even know if we have any cases of bed bugs, but man.
Right? I mean, like, if that's not a knock on wood to put in the meeting notes, come on, Carol.
Bill, you
remember
have a
back
question?
in the old days when all we had to worry about were some bed bug cases, but I wanted to.
Yeah, Bill has a question, Cheryl.
Okay. I would add that I know for certain if the testing site has walk-ups, so right outside my window, I can see them from my office. They're in the parking lot right behind my building here, and they do walk-up. My wife went the other day and just walked up, and a couple of people from the office here have done that as well. I also understand that if you contact, as Cheryl said, if you contact your doctor, they will give you information about how that someone can come out to your location and test you if you can't get out. So there are arrangements that can be done for that. So,
Great.
Okay.
the other question, Cheryl, I have for you on the report regarding the COVID is, I know we've talked in the past about what the policies that we put in for Mason Manor have been. How is that working? Any pushback from any of the residents on just the protective policies that are in place? I've heard from other entities that they have been getting pushback about some of the restrictions that have been put in. And I'm just wondering if you're seeing that at the Mason Manor.
You know, our staff is wearing masks. We're only going in for emergency purposes for repairs at this point. You know, we can go into vacant units if we need to. I don't know if I haven't heard of any pushback, Jamie. Have you from anyone? Or, I mean, it's hard. Some people don't want to wear a mask. So, I mean, that's just hard. I mean, the whole population, including some in Mason Manor, but I don't know, Jamie, maybe you can comment on that better than I can.
I mean, when we had the mask donation, we really were able to get a lot of our tenants masks. They're really cool, fun ones. So I think they're a little more willing to wear them. And then when we do have like quote unquote emergency or like work orders that need to be tended to right now, we ask the tenants to step out so we can go be the only ones in, and we're fully masked, fully gloved. And our tenants have been really open and okay with that. We're not getting any pushback. So they're really working together with us so we can accommodate their needs and make everybody as safe as possible.
I feel like there was a change in a little bit of a change in attitude when we had a positive case at Mason Manor and let everyone know.
Yes.
Right? And like,
Yes.
oh, wait a minute, that's kind of real now. So,
Yes.
okay, one thing I wanted to talk to you about, which I'll probably be bringing forward in the next month or two, is the need for us to look at purchasing a vehicle for our maintenance staff. Right now we have a van, and it's because we don't have our tools in a solid place. That's easy to transport. So I'm working with the staff out there to take a look at what kind of options we're looking at, potentially to have like that repair vehicle for when they have to come in, go to the site to make repairs and come back. So looking at that, so I'll bring that back to you in the future when we have a proposal. And then the last thing I just have is, this is Mary Borowitz's last meeting today. She's moving on to another place, Mary. So I just wanted to say thank you for your service to the board. And good luck to you in the future.
Yeah, I moved in actually with my sister and her husband and her daughter, and we're really having a great time. We're planting in the garden and doing really fun stuff.
Well, wonderful, Mary. Thank you for your time here.
Yeah.
We really appreciate your
Yeah.
advice and your service, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mary. We do have, I think there's another, this is our resident board seat on the GBHA. And Jamie has, I think, a resident who is interested in serving on the board.
Great.
So I think she's working with the mayor's office right now to put together like a letter of recommendation. So that would be, that's approved, that's recommended by the mayor, and it goes through city council for approval on that. So
Could you share that letter with us when it goes through?
yes. Once we get it, I don't have that yet. Do we have that yet, Jamie? I don't have it, Jamie. Do you have it?
What? I can't hear Bill.
Do you have the letter? Our resident member that the mayor is
Working
looking
with
at appointing. Did we
Chantel
get anything from?
Our new scattered site tenant, Erin, who's that we're hoping to be on our board. She's working with Chantel, who's our service coordinator. They're kind of working remotely via email, so they're working on putting that letter of recommendation / resume together to get the staff memories.
Okay, so as soon as we get that, we'll ship that out to the board, so you all have that. And that's all I have.
Very good. Any questions from any board members? Otherwise, we're none, moving on to the occupancy report for Maine.
Okay, so that one is in your packet. As you can see, we are still maintaining our 30-day turnaround. We had a few in-house transfers that some of our tenants needed went from a 1-bedroom to a 2-bedroom. So we had a reasonable accommodation for those. And then we're just backfilling with that. we still are maintaining quite a big waiting list. For Mason Manor, we have about 100 people on our waiting list. And then in the midsection, you can see that so far in 2020, we've had 19 move-outs and 19 move-ins. So really maintaining our numbers and doing a great job.
Good. Any questions? No? Hearing none? Looks like the next issue is setting up a date for the next meeting. We've got scheduled for June 18th. Any issues with next meeting date? No. All right, then I think we are ready for adjournment. Before we do, again, many thanks to Jamie and Ka for all the work that they've done on site. They are our frontline people on all of this, and we couldn't do this without you guys, so thank you very much for all the work that you've done. Please keep up the good work, and obviously stay safe. Anything further?
Oh,
I just want to say too. I just wanted to say too that you've been the best board that I've ever worked with. So thank you all too.
Thanks, Mary.
Thanks, Mary.
And thanks, Con, Jamie.
Thank you for your service as well, Mary. Again, we appreciate it, and have fun gardening. All right, we are ready for adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Yep, go ahead. That's perfect.
Motion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all very much. And again, we are adjourned, but stay safe and enjoy the nice weather coming
You
up.
too. Bye, all.
Thanks.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks, Cheryl.